A body has been found beneath the floorboards of a church. A young woman, hidden in the dark. You don't know what's happened, but this is your one shot. Because in any murder investigation, your body is your crime scene. And here, fear spreads across the country. A killer is at large. The question is, what else has this man done? 23-year-old Angelika Kluk, a Polish student, had been reported missing in Glasgow. She was last seen in the grounds of St. Patrick's Church, where she lived and worked. She had long fair hair, green eyes, and was last spotted wearing a pink vest top and black trousers. At first, her family hoped for good news. They begged her to get in touch. Police began surrounding St. Patrick's, the chapel where Angelika had been staying. She wasn't just visiting, she lived there. She had her own room in the chapel house. She cleaned the church and helped around the parish to raise money for her studies. But Angelika was what investigators call a vulnerable person. She was living alone in a foreign country, far from her family, trusting in the safety of the church. She thought of it as a home away from home. Detectives began looking around her room. Nothing was missing. Her belongings were still there, her passport hadn't been taken. This was critical. A missing passport could mean she'd traveled, but leaving it behind pointed to something much darker. As suspicions grew, a steady stream of detectives and forensic experts descended on the church. Specialist forensic search teams were called in. These teams lift floorboards, strip walls, and crawl through lofts. No corner is left unchecked. And that's when something unusual was noticed: a misaligned carpet tile. When officers lifted the carpet, they found a small hatch. Beneath it, in the darkness, was the body of a young woman. It was Angelika. Just 5 days after she was reported missing, her body had been found. The community was devastated. A sacred place had become a crime scene. For detectives and forensic scientists, this was no ordinary discovery. Angelika's body was wedged beneath the floorboards, covered by tarpaulin and a black bin bag. Her legs were bent double. It was a bizarre and claustrophobic crime scene, and it was their one shot to get it right. Forensic scientist Carol Rogers was one of the first to go down. It was dark, tight, almost impossible to move. She crouched down inside, forced to work inches from Angelika's body. The smell was overwhelming: blood and decomposition. The black bin bag on top of her was carefully opened. Inside, investigators found heavily blood-stained clothing, a knife, and a small block of wood. That alone was strange. Killers usually get rid of evidence far from the body. Here, the evidence was left with her. The knife appeared wiped clean, but DNA remained. The clothing was soaked in blood. The wood would soon prove crucial. As investigators examined Angelika herself, the violence of the attack became clear. Multiple stab wounds, blunt force trauma to her head, her mouth gagged with yellow insulation tape. She was clothed, but her trousers were undone. Forensic specialists suspected a sexual motive. DNA samples were taken. Soon, semen evidence would emerge. Investigators widened the search. Inside the church garage, they found small drops of blood on the floor, the walls, even the ceiling. These weren't random stains. They were impact spatter, the kind of pattern left when someone is struck over and over again. Tests confirmed it was Angelika's blood. Police now knew she had been attacked in the garage. Her body had then been moved, wrapped in tarpaulin, and hidden beneath the hatch inside the church. Attention quickly turned to the people around Angelika. 4 men had been seen with her, including a handyman known as Pat McLaughlin. But unlike the others, Pat had vanished, and he was the last person seen with Angelika, working with her to build a shed. When forensic results came back, the DNA samples told the truth. The semen taken from Angelika matched a profile already in the national database. The name, Peter Tobin. Pat McLaughlin wasn't real. The friendly church handyman was an alias. The man behind it, Peter Tobin, was a convicted sex offender with a long criminal record, including abduction and sexual assault. His fingerprints were on the bin bag found with Angelika's body. The knife carried traces of both her DNA and his. Blood-stained jeans were discovered with both their DNA mixed together. The block of wood matched a table leg from the church. It was likely the murder weapon. Police now knew Tobin had killed her, but he had disappeared. Tobin was dangerous, mobile, and experienced at hiding under false names. Media appeals went out nationwide. The public was warned, do not approach him. Days later, a hospital nurse in London recognized a patient named James Kelly. He looked exactly like the wanted man. Police rushed to the scene. It was Tobin. He was arrested on the spot. In custody, more evidence piled up. His watch carried Angelika's blood. His t-shirt had DNA from both him and Angelika. At trial, Tobin denied everything. His lawyers even claimed Angelika had been in a consensual relationship with him, a cruel attack on her memory. But forensic evidence destroyed every part of his defense. DNA, fingerprints, blood, fibers. The case was airtight. In 2007, Peter Tobin was found guilty of murdering Angelika Kluk. He was sentenced to life with a minimum of 21 years. The judge said he was unfit to live in human society. But detectives weren't satisfied. The brutality of the murder suggested experience. Could this really have been his first killing at the age of 60? A special investigation was launched, Operation Anagram. Its mission was to trace Tobin's movements across the UK and connect him to unsolved murders. The results were chilling. In the garden of a former Tobin home in Margate, Kent, police uncovered 2 shallow graves. Inside were the remains of 15-year-old Vicky Hamilton, missing since 1991, and 18-year-old Dinah McNichol, who vanished the same year. Both had been bound, gagged, and killed, just like Angelika. Tobin was convicted of both murders. He received additional whole-life sentences. Angelika's death was tragic, brutal, and senseless. She had come to Glasgow full of hope, eager to study, eager to live. Instead, she fell into the path of a predator who had spent decades hiding in plain sight. But her case also ended Tobin's spree. The forensic trail she left behind exposed him, led to the discovery of Vicky and Dinah, and stopped him from hurting anyone else. Police still believe Tobin may have killed many more. He himself once hinted to fellow prisoners he had taken dozens of lives, but he never confessed, taking his secrets to the grave. As one investigator reflected, evil didn't win the day. The day Peter Tobin killed Angelika Kluk marked the beginning of his downfall. Angelika Kluk will always be remembered as more than a victim. Her life mattered. Her story mattered. And though her final moments were stolen by evil, the truth she revealed brought justice, not only for herself, but for other young women whose families had been searching for answers for decades. This case is a reminder, even in the most sacred places, darkness can hide. And sometimes, it takes one tragic loss to finally expose the evil that's been there all along. If you found this intriguing, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more stories like this.